This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Monday, May 9th. The CBC Saskatchewan News, the digital edition, starts right now. Hello and thanks for joining us. Saskatoon police have launched an investigation into a failed real estate group that collected more than $200 million from investors. But a court-appointed investigator says people may never truly know what happened to all the money. The Epic Alliance group of companies closed down in January. As Dan Zakreski reports, we now have a better idea of how it all went wrong.
Epic Alliance bought up more than 500 houses in Saskatoon, just like this bungalow, over a 9-year period. They had 7 houses on this block alone. The real estate group said its plan was to renovate these core neighborhood homes for investors and then rent them out or sell them to make the investor money. But that's not how it worked out.
Everything's gone. So everything's bankrupt, guys. It's all gone.
That was Rochelle Laflamme and Elisa Thompson breaking the news to 120-some investors back in January. The investors went to court to find out what happened. A judge assigned an investigator to track the money. On Friday, they got some of those answers in this report. Turns out that Epic Alliance was never really about the houses. It was about raising money from investors. The report says they took new investment money and used it to pay off earlier investors. The company's promo material offered high guaranteed returns. Epic did pay the returns, but the report says the money came from the new investors, not the revenue homes. The report says the company kept sloppy, incomplete books. In fact, the inspector was unable to say what happened before 2019. Now, when the investigator came here to the head office, he found 84 bankers' boxes full of paper records, and in the basement, an empty server rack. That's where the company's computer records should have been stored. Turns out that 2 out of the 3 computer servers had been wiped clean. Today, some investors are out money, while others are left with homes in Saskatoon's core neighborhood that they never wanted to manage. The story doesn't end here. And now, city police have confirmed officers in the economic crime section are now investigating. They're following up a complaint from an Ontario investor. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Great work, Dan. Saskatoon's hate crime unit has charged a woman with assault. A 23-year-old woman told police that she was at this library on Avenue K South last Monday, and that a woman she did not know confronted her, then began chasing her and using racial slurs. Police say the hate crime unit investigated and charged a 32-year-old woman with assault. They're calling it a hate or bias-motivated crime. A Saskatchewan First Nation is calling on Pope Francis to visit this province during an expected visit to Canada in July. The Muscowquan First Nation is formally requesting the Pope to stop at the province's last standing residential school building. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
Music was in the air as drummers sang a song in honor of all the children that went to the residential school here. The school didn't close until the late 90s. Members of Muscowquan First Nation, located about 150 kilometers northeast of Regina, and the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations want Pope Francis to visit this site and apologize. Even more, they want to hear what actions he will take to help the community heal.
Bring in those people who committed these crimes to our students, to justice. Bring in all those records, those artifacts, back into our own possession. Continue to build healing and wellness centers right on these sites.
This is where 35 potential unmarked graves were discovered just last year, and today it's a National Historic Site and a meaningful place for members of the Muscowquan First Nation, residential school survivors, and guests. Chiefs urged people to be kind to each other and to support each other's healing journeys. One survivor says her own journey has been a long one, but she is strong.
And as we stand here as survivors today, We stand with pride, and we stand because we're resilient and we're awesome.
Archbishop Don Boland says the Catholic Church deeply regrets its involvement in the pain and suffering of children at residential schools. He says he supports the calls for the Pope to visit Muskowakan, but he says the Pope is in poor health, which might limit the number of locations in Canada he visits.
I don't know whether that's going to be able to happen, and my role is a fairly limited role in that, but you are doing such good work as a community in terms of naming the past and in terms of trying to find a good way forward.
So far, people involved in the planning of the trip have not listed Muskowakan as a stop. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Muskowakan First Nation.
The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line provides support to any survivors and others affected. To access emotional and crisis referral services, call 1-866-925-4419. A crowd gathered at a vigil in Vancouver yesterday to honor a young Indigenous woman from Saskatchewan. 24-year-old Chelsea Poorman disappeared nearly 2 years ago, shortly after moving to Vancouver from Saskatoon. Her body was found 2 weeks ago. While police don't consider her death suspicious, her family and Indigenous advocates don't agree. Yasmin Gandam reports.
Gone, but not forgotten. Prayers were said, flowers were scattered, and candles lit at a memorial set up outside the vacant Shaughnessy home where Poorman's skeletal remains were discovered late last month. Her mother, Sheila Poorman, asking for answers as to what happened to her daughter.
My daughters and I want answers, but right now we're going to focus on taking what's left of her home and giving her a proper burial. And then we'll come back and we'll do what needs to be done for Chelsea. We're going to fight for Chelsea. We're going to fight for the truth to what happened to her, because we're not going to sit by and let them say that it's not suspicious and there's no foul play.
The vigil was organized by the family in conjunction with Butterflies in Spirit, a local dance group consisting of members of missing and murdered Indigenous women.
When you said her case is not suspicious, is hurtful and harmful to our people.
24-year-old Poorman was reported missing nearly 2 years ago, and her body was discovered by contractors working on a vacant home. The Vancouver Police Department has said her death is not suspicious, but other people belonging to the Indigenous community who have also lost their family members say this happens too often.
The systems that need to be in place, the supports that need to be in place so we don't lose any more Chelseas and Marias and all of the other names, because they're not statistics, they're names.
The family now doing everything they can to bring their daughter back home and joining together with the community to remember Chelsea Poorman. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
The latest wastewater research is in from University of Saskatchewan researchers. The viral load in Saskatoon has gone up, but other cities are showing a decline. The data released today is from samples gathered from wastewater last week. It shows Saskatoon's viral load is up by 44%. This comes after 2 weeks of decline. Researchers say Saskatoon's viral load is the second highest it's ever been. As for Prince Albert, it's down 58% from the previous week, and North Battleford is down 24%. For both of those cities, it's the first decline in weeks. Regina's levels have also dropped, but still remain high. The Saskatchewan government says it's going ahead with its plan to overhaul the security structure at the legislature. Bill 70 will create a new security team with a director appointed by government. This will replace a system that is more than 35 years old, in which the sergeant-at-arms is appointed by the Speaker. The opposition has argued the change will create a partisan security force. Minister of Public Safety Christine Tell says that this is not the case. She says the 11-member security team will be armed and uniformed and will operate under her ministry the same way corrections officers and highway patrol do.
We have talked about is a security unit that will actually be proactive, not waiting, receiving information, but not waiting until something happens and then light their hair on fire. Don't want to do that. And the time for making plans is before something happens. And I don't want to wait.
The opposition is proposing an amendment to the new law. It wants the new security director appointed by and reporting to the Speaker. Tell says the government is not interested. The issue will be discussed in committee this evening. The interim leader for the Green Party of Canada made a stop in Regina today with a message for Premier Scott Moe. Amita Kuttner says the usage of small nuclear reactors, or SNRs, is not the right direction for Saskatchewan. At the end of March, the province laid out its plan to use SNRs to lower carbon emissions. The government says nuclear reactors are safe, reliable, and a source of zero-emission energy. But Kuttner says it makes more sense to focus on solar, wind, and geothermal energy production.
It is so immediately clear, being here, that this province has amazing potential for solar and wind, and I've seen the data, so that is also obvious. But just even being on the ground for a few hours, it is so clear. So it is so obvious to me that community-based power and the immediate solutions around renewables is really what we should be doing, and not heading down the path of nuclear, which takes too long in a true emergency.
A small nuclear reactor has a price tag of $5 billion. The government says each one could power about 300,000 homes a year.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. The exclusive export event is back.
Ethan Williams is in now with a look at weather. Ethan, a fun weekend if you're a fan of weather, but May's a little weird for this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly a wild weekend indeed, Dan. And like you say, bit early for this, for the severe weather season. Normally these types of storms happen a little bit later in the month, and sometimes they don't even start until June. But we did have reports of funnel clouds on Saturday and Sunday. These photos taken Saturday near Indian Head. As of now, none of these actually touched down. We also saw funnel clouds on Sunday at Last Mountain Lake there. This photo taken on, that last one was taken on Pelican Point, northwest of Regina. We also had some hail with those storms, as you saw too, especially the further southeast you went. Those last photos from the hail were taken near Redverse, which actually saw some golf ball sized hail, as you can see here on our data that we have from Environment Canada and the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail and Snow Network. Golf ball size around Redverse, Antler picking up some nickel sized hail. Estevan, very windy gusts there on Saturday, close to 90 kilometers an hour. And the storm system pretty far reaching as well, even all the way up to Codette, which is up near Nipawin, picking up 25 millimeters of rain. We also mentioned the funnel clouds that were reported on Saturday out near Indian Head. We also had a report of funnel clouds at Abernethy as well, just not too far from there. But for tonight, it looks like we're not in store for any severe weather, mostly just rain. We're watching this low pressure system, which has brought more rain to Manitoba, something they definitely don't need. I think the southeast part of the province will see rain tonight and into tomorrow morning as well. Much of the south will continue to be cloudy with occasional showers. Through the day, it looks like we could see some thunderstorms in Regina, Saskatoon, maybe a little bit of the central part of the province, but mostly those should stay in the south part of the province. And then tomorrow we are watching as possibly some snow flurries make their way through the north. Not a lot of accumulation in terms of snow there, but it should be maybe a few flurries in the overnight hours. And then as we get into Thursday, things look to clear out somewhat. We'll take a look now at our precipitation for the southeast corner, and this is where it's likely going to be the highest in terms of the rain tonight, generally between 5 and 10 millimeters. You see Swift Current picking up 23 millimeters. I think that's a bit of an algorithm issue with our model. I don't think it's going to be that much, but maybe a millimeter or so being picked up there. In the north, really not that much tonight. The highest amounts I think will be in the northwest corner. They had snow in Alberta and northern Alberta, and that system's going to move out, and that should bring just occasional rain showers, maybe a couple of millimeters or so to the extreme northwest corner. Our winds not going to be too much of a factor over the next couple of days, which is nice. The southeast corner might see gusts tomorrow between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour, but for the rest of us, generally not too bad of a day, between 30 and 40 kilometer an hour gusts. And then as we look into the next couple of days here on Wednesday, winds not too bad for most of the province. We're watching this big, broad trough, which is going to slowly turn into a ridge of high pressure, which will bring some warmer temperatures for the south and central areas as we head into the later part of the week. But until then, we are watching some rainier conditions, and that includes Regina, where we could see the occasional thunderstorm tomorrow and a high of 15. We'll stay around those temperatures for the next couple of days. And then on Friday, we could see a system move in, which could bring some heavier rain. And that will move out as we head into next week and finally get some clearing. Saskatoon could be hit by that same system too. We're looking for a high of 15 with some showers tomorrow. 20 degrees on both Wednesday and Thursday. There's that system on Friday. And then as we start into next week, Dan, it looks like we will get some clearing and we might be finally away from that moisture.
Isn't it funny, all those storms near Regina? I could see the clouds last night playing ball. Never hit us.
It's like we're a magic boundary. Crazy.
I kind of like it.
True.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
CFL training camps are scheduled to begin this Sunday, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders will take the field in Saskatoon as per usual. One of the rites of passage before training camp is the announcement of the Plaza of Honor inductees. 3 very deserving individuals are heading into the plaza this year, beginning with receiver Weston Dressler. The future CFL Hall of Famer played 8 seasons with the Roughriders, surpassing the 1,000-yard receiving mark 3 times and winning the Grey Cup in 2013. Linebacker Mike McCullough was with the Green and White for 11 seasons and has 2 Grey Cups in 2007 and 2013. And the final inductee is former head coach Ken Miller. He was the offensive coordinator for the 2007 Grey Cup winning team and later went on to coach the Riders from 2008 to 2010.
To be here for 11 years, and I think the longevity of my career is probably what helped get me into the plaza. Obviously, like I said, not due to All-Star nominations, but it's an honor, and it's great to be going in guys like Weston and Coach Miller. I rode Weston's coattails for 6 years as a teammate, so why should it change in retirement? So
he gets a chance or an opportunity to just kind of reminisce a little bit about my time up here, the friends we made, and those types of things. A lot of different locker room stories that pop in your head, some of the memories. So it's exciting to be in this group, and I am excited to be going in with Mike too.
The 3 new members of the Plaza of Honor will be recognized during halftime of the August 18th game at Mosaic Stadium. A great rookie season has been topped with an invite to play for Team Canada at the upcoming World Hockey Championships in Helsinki, Finland. Regina's Cole Sillinger just wrapped up his first season with the Columbus Blue Jackets. The 18-year-old finished with 16 goals and 31 points. His reward is representing Canada on a world stage. Sillinger and Team Canada's first game is May 13th against Germany. That's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on this digital edition of CBC Saskatchewan News. We'll be back to television tomorrow night at 5. Till then, have a good night.